Hi everyone, welcome back to Sugar Mama's Fireplay podcast. I am financial planner Canna Campbell. Today's podcast is a personal one. I'm going to share with you some things that have gone on in my past, and I'm really focusing around the investment of mental health, the things that I am doing from a monetary perspective as well as an investment of time to help manage and proactively maintain my mental health. So a quick upfront disclosure that there may be some triggers in here. So please be mindful as to whether this is the right type of podcast for you to be listening to right now. But at the end of the day, this podcast, I'm sharing with you the things that I'm doing and the things that are helping me, because I really believe in being honest and transparent with people, because when people have been honest and transparent with me, this has really helped me in my own personal journey and healing from the depths of my own mental health challenges. Also, I have to always do this now, but a general advice, warning, and disclaimer. All of my content, whether it be a blog post, a YouTube video, a podcast, or something you see on my Instagram account, is always general advice only. And please always feel free to refer to my financial planning license details. All right, let's talk about investment of mental health. The things that I'm doing personally to, as I said, improve my mental health, strengthen my mental health, and proactively manage my mental health whenever I have like struggling days, bad days, dark days, because I have come up with some things that I found really have helped. And yes, some of these cost money, but some of these don't. And I've also come up with a few different hacks around this so that if you're on a tight budget, you can still afford some of these things. So let's talk about it. Now, I feel like the world is in a really confronting place right now. Over 2,000 people have died in Haiti from the earthquake. The Taliban have taken over Afghanistan, and we're seeing some really frightening and disturbing footage of families on the news and online. Also, the recent figures for global warming are coming out, and it doesn't look like we're making a big enough change and a big enough change fast enough. Well, our planet is getting warmer and we just simply need to do more, but we just can't seem to get there fast enough. It's really quite depressing. It's really quite overwhelming. It's really very frustrating. And on top of this, depending on where you're living right now, I'm in New South Wales in Bondi, we're in lockdown. And we've been in lockdown for some while. And I do admit, like, lockdown here is completely a drop in the ocean. It's completely superfluous in comparison to what is going on around the world. So I'm very much aware of how privileged I am to be living in Australia. But I still can't help but feel so overwhelmed and so helpless and so frightened for our planet, for young children, for families, for people's loss of basic safety and security, for the absolute destruction around us on so many different levels. Now, on the weekend, I went for a walk. I saw some really disturbing footage from Afghanistan, and Tom and I were just lost for words. And I said, look, I've got to get out. I've got to, get some fresh air. And we needed to get some groceries at the time. So I decided instead of driving to the supermarket, I would walk. I'd get some sunlight. I'd get my heart rate beating. I'd get some fresh air. And as I was walking to the supermarket, I walked past all these shops. And these are shops which would normally be busy, but they're obviously closed during lockdown. But this time it was different. They weren't just closed. They were closed for good. The shops were now a carcass. All the furniture and fittings had been completely ripped out, and they were for sale or for lease signs in these shops. These businesses are not reopening. They're closed for good. And being a small business owner, I know how much blood, sweat, and tears goes into setting up a business, let alone maintaining a business. So these people are not coming back. And it makes me feel really sad because there's the flow-on effect. How are these people surviving? How are they paying the bills? How are they putting food on the table? How are their families coping? How are their communities coping? It's a really tough world right now. It's incredibly confronting. And I actually ended up coming home feeling even worse. Now, I'm someone who at the moment particularly, is very vigilant about my mental health. I've always shared with you guys before in my YouTube videos, but I suffered really bad postnatal depression and post-traumatic stress syndrome. In fact, the post-traumatic stress syndrome was worse than the postnatal depression because I would have flashbacks and triggers all the time. And I with sleepwalking and sleep talking. And I've never actually shared this with anyone in any of my content before, but I actually ended up in hospital because I was in such a bad place. And I shouldn't say a bad place because it's not bad, but I was in a dark place. I was in a frightening place. I was in a scary place. And my doctor at the time said to me, I need to get you away from your typical environment to somewhere where it's controlled and we can see exactly what's going on. Now, I have healed and turned my life around from being in that dark place. And I'm really proud of the work that I've done on myself to get myself out of there on my own. And of course, there were a lot of people who were very kind and supportive along the way, but I had to do a lot of work on myself. And I will even go as far to say is there was a blessing in disguise that came from having postnatal depression and post-traumatic stress syndrome, because it's made me a much more grounded person. I'm so much more intuitive. I am so much more grateful. When you go through a dark place like that and you come out the other side, I don't take those little moments for granted. I feel like my value system has grown and evolved, and it's so much richer. I look back and think I may have been a little bit materialistic, and I'm ashamed to say this, but I feel like I've grown a lot as a person. I'm a much better person. I was probably a bit more, as I say, materialistic, superficial, surface level. Going through that has made me a richer person inside. Obviously not talking about money, but from my own personal growth. But I value things, I value people, and I value moments so much more. So there is a huge blessing in disguise of going through something heavy like postnatal depression or depression or any type of mental illness. So now that I've just had my third baby, Tiger Tilly, I guess I'm on on alert or on call as to my mental health, seeing and being very switched on as to when I'm having a bad day or when I feel like I've had my cage rattled, or when I'm feeling flat or down or overly sensitive. I'm really making sure I pick up on immediately and I do something about it. And there are some things that I have been doing that have helped me maintain my mental health. They helped me get through days where I felt shaky and fragile. There are days where these things have helped me, I guess, not feel things as much. And not to say I still feel things, but they've helped me work through and grow through those bad feelings. And some of these things do cost money, but some of these things don't. And the things that do cost money, I've got some suggestions so that if you're on a tight budget and you like the sound of some of these things that do cost money, there's an alternative solution for you if you are on a tight budget. So I want to share with you the 5 things that are helping me mentally get through a very confronting time in the world right now. All right. So the first thing is investing in sleep. I'm a bad sleeper. I'm one of those people that wakes up at 1 a.m. every night, stares at the ceiling until 4 a.m. Now, previously, I used to always wake up at 5 a.m. and I'd, get so much work done before anyone else woke up. It was a really great efficiency hack. But because I'm only falling off to sleep at 4 a.m., if I wake up at 5 a.m., I'm a basket case. I can't concentrate. I can't think. I'm a nervous wreck. So I've had to forgive myself and allow myself the space just to park the 5 a.m. wake up calls for the time being. I've also invested in understanding more about the importance of sleep, the importance of good quality restorative sleep. I'm reading a book at the moment, and I will admit it's quite scientific. A lot of it goes over my head, but the parts I do get are brilliant and really informative, and I feel like I'm so much more respectful and, I guess, protective of my sleep. And I will link in the video description box, or not video, the podcast description box below what this book is. But it's made me prioritize my sleep. And I have to say, since doing this and applying the things I'm learning from this book and this other thing which I'm about to share with you in a second, I feel like if I'm having a bad day, I'm coping a lot better. Now, the other thing that I've invested from a sleep perspective, and this is called an Aura ring. No, this is not a sponsored podcast, I promise, but it's very similar to a Fitbit device, or one of those fitness trackers, and they all vary in prices. This one's about $300, but it's a ring. And I believe it's a little bit more advanced and a bit more accurate because it's a ring, but it tracks how much I sleep. It does like the steps, the heart rate, the temperature, everything, your restfulness. But what I wear this ring for, and you may see me wearing this ring in my videos or on Instagram, but it helps me monitor my sleep. It stops the panic. You see, I will sometimes wake up and I think, oh my goodness, I've only had 4 hours sleep. I'm not coping. I'm not going to do well. And I send myself into a tailspin and I panic, and I then it's almost like a placebo effect, but a bad placebo effect, in that I think I'm going to have a bad day and I set myself up for failure. The thing about this ring is it actually reminds me, it's like, okay, you've had a bad night, but it's not too bad. You've actually got enough, just enough restorative sleep in to get through the day. And it means it will remind me to not try and exercise that day, to take it slowly. And it will remind me to switch off my devices earlier. It will remind me to go to bed early to try and help make up that sleep. So investing in sleep has been a really valuable tool and habit for me to really include in my life. And it has made a big difference. Obviously, it's not going to fix everyone's mental health challenges, but it does make a difference. So if you're someone like me who wakes up in the morning thinking they haven't slept and sends themselves into a panic, I highly recommend investing in some sort of sleep tracking device. And I have to say, sometimes I'll wake up thinking I've barely slept, and I'll look at my app and I'll be like, actually, no, I got 6.5 hours of sleep. And it gives me a sense of confidence to be able to get through the day. And I feel like I'm able to handle challenges that little bit better when I know, I'm actually okay. It's almost like a cheerleader of your sleep. So that has made a really big difference. Now, of course, if you're on a tight budget and you don't want to go and buy sleep tracking advice, and obviously they range in different prices, little simple things like switching off your devices, reading a book before going to bed. Another great hack that I do is I go on I think of 10 things that I'm grateful for. And normally I get to number 3 or 4 and I'm drifting off to sleep. And another hack I do when I wake up at 1 a.m. and I do this, I don't know what I used to call it, a mental blank, but I go traveling, and I go and check on all the people that I'm upset with, or all the people that I'm worried about, or all the people that I love, all the people that mean something to my life. I go sort of flying, and I fly over them, and I send them love, and I send them blessings, and I send them happiness. And, I realize that they're safe, they're fine, they're well. It just brings my anxiety levels down, and I'm able to switch off and gently and eventually fall back off to sleep. So sleep is the first one. The second thing is food. At the moment, I'm breastfeeding. I'm waking up throughout the night. Our daughter, Targetilly, has reflux. And if you've ever had a baby with reflux or know someone with a baby with reflux or colic, it's torture in that they scream at nighttime. The only way I can get her to go to sleep is her on my chest. So we're co-sleeping. We're co-sleeping safely, don't worry. But it means that we are tired, even with the sleeping advice, the sleeping tracker. And when I'm the sort of person, if I'm tired, I make bad food choices. I'll grab a chocolate bar instead of eating a piece of fruit. I'll grab a piece of toast instead of making myself something nutritious with vegetables or some scrambled eggs or something like some healthy yogurt. I grab the easy food, and that is so bad was particularly bad for me when my mental health is struggling or on the cusp of struggling. So investing in some meals to have in the home, in the freezer, is great. Now, normally I stockpile my freezer. I do I'll have a weekend of and do massive batches of cooking, but sometimes those levels run low, or sometimes I haven't thought in advance to take them out of the freezer, and I only realize 2 hours before dinner's coming that I don't have anything that's defrosted. So having some meals ready to go and healthy meals ready to go is, for me, has been a well worth investment. This is again not sponsored, but I use a business called Catering at Home. It's a small business, and they make these amazing, healthy, home-cooked meals that are really nutritious, really delicious, and they literally are things that you can just simply put into the oven. Now, I will link in the podcast description box below Catering at Home's website, so you can check it out for yourself, as well as a whole pile of other small business services that like this, so you can hopefully find one in your area. But if you are struggling from a mental health perspective and you can afford this in your budget, it is sometimes worth cheating, if you want to call it, and having these meals ready to go so that you can not worry about going to the shops, not worry about cooking, and not worry about cleaning up, and you know that your body and your family is going to get a healthy, nutritious meal. To me, this is well worth the investment. And of course, the other option is Uber Eats, home delivery. Just order something that's healthy, stick to a budget. try and obviously make sure that it's going to fill the whole family and get the right amount of nutrients and minerals into them. But it's okay. If it means it preserves your mental health, it is well worth it. The next thing is shopping. I know this is going to sound very contradictory. It's not, but during lockdown, during my pregnancy, I should say, I didn't really buy anything. And because I was pretty much homebound because of this medical problem, which I will share in due course, I didn't really see anyone. I didn't really socialize. I was pretty much living in the same clothes over and over again. And towards the end of the pregnancy, they actually started to get really threadbare. So I've actually allowed myself, for my own mental health, to buy a few things recently, especially now that I'm starting to, lose the baby weight and things are starting to come back and I'm, getting healthier again. I'm allowing myself now. Obviously, I'm sticking to a budget and I'm only buying things that I actually need. So as much as I'd love to go out and buy a party dress, I'm not going to be going to any parties anytime soon. So I'm literally buying just t-shirts and jumpers and things like that, and things that I bought myself a new pair of pants the other day to celebrate when I can eventually fit back into them again. And don't worry, I know that might sound really vain, like I'm focusing on losing the weight, but it's not the case at all. I'm just focusing on being able to walk upstairs without huffing and puffing and just to start feeling good about myself again. So investing in some shopping. Now, I'm talking about clothes here, but for you, this might be buying yourself a bottle of perfume. It might be buying yourself a nice scented candle. Perhaps it's buying yourself a new face mask. Perhaps it's like buying something for yourself, like a new lipstick or some mascara. You know what? If you're sticking to your budget, it's not going to jeopardize your financial well-being. A little bit of shopping right now, if it helps, even from a superficial surface level, that's okay. It's all right, as long as you're doing it in a mindful way. And I will point out, when I do shop, I'm a painfully fussy shopper. I don't just mindlessly add to cart. I'm one of those people who has to, even if I'm buying a basic white t-shirt, which I did the other day, I had to look up this t-shirt on about 5 different websites to see and make sure I was getting the right price. I also had to look up it on Street Style to see how many different people had been wearing and styling this top, so I knew that I could get as many different looks out of this top as well. So if you are going to buy yourself something and it is a bit of mental health retail therapy, make sure you're doing it mindfully. And look, it is helping me a little bit along the way in combination with other more meaningful and powerful things. All right, the next thing is investing in a few apps. Some of these apps were free. Some of these apps I've paid for. Now, I'm waiting to see my doctor to get the all clear to see if I can start exercising. And when I do get the all clear to start exercising, because I have to have some surgery from some complications to my pregnancy, it's going to be very, very gentle exercise. But I'm really looking forward to exercising. I'm looking forward to getting my energy levels back. I also think that when I start exercising, even just a little bit, I'll be able to sleep better as well. So I'm really excited about that. Feeling a bit of toning and definition, maybe even slowly creep back in. Also, I'm carrying around a 2-year-old and as well as my newborn. So I want to be able to make sure that my back and shoulders are strong enough to be able to carry these 2 kids around and not, damage any ligaments or muscles in my back or strain myself. So having that, being able to exercise again is really important. And of course, we're in lockdown at the moment, so all the gyms are closed. I can't go to my Pilates class. So I've invested in a few apps. I've invested in one called Me and one called 8Fit. And whilst I haven't been able to completely embrace them yet, I'm really enjoying them. And I'm also really excited about being able to use these apps in more detail, because they've gamified my health and fitness. They send me challenges to try and eat no sugar for the day. They send me challenges to do an extra 500 steps. That you can log things, and also it's going to make me be really honest and upfront with myself about really the food that I'm putting into my body. So the chocolate bar that I just quickly, well, not chocolate bar, the couple of squares of chocolate I just put in, I've got to put into the app. So I really feel like it's going to help me on my journey in maintaining my mental health and obviously helping minimize slipping back and falling back to where I was. Because as I said, I'm being hyper vigilant right now. And then the 5th and final thing that I've found that's really helping me with my mental health from an investment of time, and that is help, but asking for help and giving help, working both ways. When I previously have had mental health challenges, I've always made an appointment to go and see someone to have a talk. And hearing someone help you put things into perspective, realize you're not going crazy, your feelings are justified, they're normal, they're natural, and help you come up with solutions and strategies to overcome them, to process them, as I said, to put things back into perspective and break them down is really, really important. So investing in time to go see someone and talk to someone is so important. Putting your hand up or even calling Lifeline. A problem shared is a problem halved. And at the moment, obviously, is lockdown. And I can tell you I've done appointments over Zoom. They're great. They work just as well. Obviously, it's nice to be in front of a human, in person in front of you, but this is the next best thing. And it does make a difference. So please don't skimp on making an appointment to see someone, to talk to someone. If you need to. The other strategy is calling a friend that you know won't judge you, calling a friend that will listen to you, calling a friend that you know that gives good advice. And for those people out there who don't have someone like that, and I know what that feeling is like, what I suggest you do is think about someone that you really admire, and you may know this person or they may even be a celebrity of some sort, and ask yourself, how would this person respond to this challenge? How would this person, react? What would that person say to me right now if I told them what I was worried and stressed about? One of my best friend's mother is the most incredible woman. She's smart, she's strong, she's resilient, but she's also gone through a lot of crap in her life. And sometimes when I'm facing something that's confronting or uncomfortable or challenging, I think to myself, how would such and such react? What would such and such say to me right now if I told her? What would such and such do or think or say or behave in this particular situation? And it's incredible. Just doing this, I almost hear their voice in my head and I get the answer straight away. And it injects strength and resilience back in me. Now, if you don't know anyone that's particularly like that, you can, as I said, you can go for the celebrity. So for example, say you're facing something challenging, you might say to yourself, well, what would Oprah say about this right now? What would Oprah tell you to do right now? What would Oprah, after listening to you, what would she advise you? And then I guarantee if you do this, you'll literally hear Oprah's voice in your head right now. And that will help you, work through that problem, grow through that problem, come out as wiser, stronger and smarter, particularly when you pick someone who's really intelligent, really strong, and someone who's actually gone through lots of stuff, so knows realistically how tough life can be, how frightening life can be, how challenging life can be, because they've got the best insights, things that really work, and they know what it's like, and they can be compassionate, they can be sympathetic with you. Now, as I said, this tip, number 5, works both ways. Not only is it really important to ask for help, it's also really important to give back. When you help someone, it is quite powerful what it does to you. It makes that your problems they don't disappear, but it makes you feel a lot stronger about your problems that you're dealing with. It makes you feel like you're actually more resilient, you're wiser, you've got the ability to get through the problem or the challenge that you're facing at that point in time. And that might be a way of helping, might be listening to a friend's problem. It might be picking up the phone and seeing how they're going from a mental health perspective, or how they're going with a particular challenge they're facing. But there are also other things you can do to help. You might decide, okay, you know what? I'm sick and tired of seeing this global warming problem. I'm going to up the ante with what I'm doing. I'm going to embrace more zero waste. I'm going to stop buying any products with chemicals in my home. I'm going to make a conscious effort to support more small businesses instead of shop at the major department stores. I'm going to maybe donate some money instead of buy myself something next month or this month. I'm going to support the circular pre-loved economy. I'm going to sign petitions. And I'm going to use social media to help support and grow small businesses. I guess what I'm trying to say is when you step out of your own, bubble or worries or concerns and start looking at other people around you and how you can help them, it helps put other things into perspective, and it gives you that very important insight, growth and gain, where it then flows back into your own problems, where you're able to, you're resuscitated or you're reinvigorated with strength to get through your own problems. So when it comes to step number 5, what I'm trying to simply say is make sure you ask for help, but make sure you give back in help in the same type of way. This has been a really powerful tool for me, and it is really made me realize that I'm not alone. Whilst there are times where I feel frightened or overwhelmed or simply scared, going and helping other people work through their own challenges and problems in whatever way, whether it be donating money, whether it be listening to someone, whether it be brainstorming ideas for someone, whether it be supporting someone by buying a product or sharing it on social media, has really, really helped me. And it really helped my mental health as well as my own physical health. It's given me a rush of energy, which is really, really important, particularly at a time like this where, we can't exercise as much. We're wearing face masks. We're social distancing. We can't see our family and friends like we would normally do. So I'm going to wrap up today's podcast because I wanted to make it a short but sweet one. Please know that if you are going through a tough time right now, you are not alone. I feel you. I'm sympathetic. I am compassionate. Please make sure you try and do something for yourself. Just like the $1,000 project, progress equals success. Every time I get another dollar in my savings account for the $1,000 project and I see the progress that I'm making, even though it might be very small, it inspires me and reinvigorates me to keep going. So as I said, if you're in lockdown or if you're in a challenging place, please know you are not alone and we can all make changes. And even if they're only little changes, as long as they are in the right direction, a better direction, they are just as valuable as the big steps and progress that we make in our lives. And of course, at any time, if you like any of these ideas or you have some other ideas that you think they're really going to help me and other people listening to this podcast proactively manage their mental health, both from a monetary investment and then from an investment of time, please feel free to reach out and contact me. And of course, add a comment, share this podcast, whatever you like. But I'm really passionate about helping people by being as transparent and open as possible about my own mental health journey. All right, everyone, have a fantastic week ahead. And I will see you on my YouTube channel on Thursday afternoon for more financial motivation, inspiration, education, and motivation. Ciao for now.